Welcome to Smart Money, which, as was just said, is part of Schools for Children's Different Choices project. Last fall, when we first offered different choices, we envisioned an annual college and career fair for students with learning and social emotional challenges. Based on the feedback we received from students, families, caregivers, and support professionals, we decided to expand beyond a yearly event, as evidenced by this finance series. So, while it may seem that many services end when students leave the world of IEPs, 504s, and high school support staff, excellent programs do indeed exist. Finding them on your own can be overwhelming. With different choices, we're collaborating with wonderful partners to bring together resources and information that helps students and their families make a successful transition to college, career, and other post-high school experiences. Together, we're also working to end the stigma associated with disabilities. Enjoy tonight's presentation and tell others about the series, which goes through May 12th. Visit us at differentchoices.org and let us know what you need to make the transition to high school, from high school to college and career easier, more hopeful, and something you can anticipate with comfort and confidence. And thank you, Carlos. I've been looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you, Denise, for that wonderful introduction. That was a walk down memory lane for me, certainly. So can I go ahead and get started?
Yes, please.
We're wonderful. All right. So thank you very much for having me. This is certainly a pleasure. I want to get this slideshow up here so we can get going with the show. But as Denise said, we have been working together for this is now the second year that I have the pleasure of being here with you folks. I am here today in a different capacity than I have been before. One thing that Denise didn't mention that I wanted to mention is that I am actually the market director for the Princeton Review. And my role there is actually helping a lot of students, as Paul was saying, transition from high school to college. But I will be here with you today in a completely different form. I won't be talking about things I usually talk about, which are, SAT and college admissions and all that. I'm here to talk to you about something that I am passionate about, which is teaching financial literacy to high school students, specifically those who are looking to go into college. So I'm here talking to you essentially as perhaps an older relative, as somebody who has had that lived experience, who went through this, and who didn't know the things that I am going to tell you tonight. So these are the 10 things that I wish I knew before going to college. And as the name implies, I will be talking to you about a few financial topics, although I promise you I will be largely jargon free so that we make sure that everybody is on the same page as me. So again, I am Carlos Aguilera, and the reason why I'm here is Denise and I discussed, and they were looking for somebody to talk to you about this role, about this topic, and I jumped up the opportunity. And that is what I'm here. I'm here to help students such as you understand financial topics, especially now that you're at such crossroads in your life, going to college, taking on this completely new experience that you haven't done before, and truly that nothing like it compares. So what we will be talking about today are those 10 things. And I am going to start with a basic one that you don't really think about much, but we're going to cover what is money, right? Answer my surprise. We're going to talk about inflation. I know that's something that we tend to hear a lot about in the news. So we're going to cover that in very broad terms, right? We're going to also talk about interest. And what does that mean? We're going to talk about the time value of money, saving, why you want to be saving, of course, especially now at this juncture in your life, budgeting, which is if something that you're currently not doing or currently haven't done. Perhaps this will be your first exposure to the prospect of budgeting, the concept of budgeting, and why you want to start as soon as you possibly can. Another one that is time sensitive to you, and I'll get to why that is a little bit later, is how credit cards work. I want you to learn about investing. And I should insert a disclaimer here as soon as I'm done with this list. I also want you to know your student loans, and I want you to learn a little bit more about your career earning potential, depending on what career you choose, what major you choose. But I do want to disclaim one thing, though, for everybody here. I am not a personal advisor, personal financial advisors whatsoever. What I do have is, as Denise said, a lot of experience. So I want you to know that I am speaking to you solely as somebody who has learned these things and is looking to pass them down to you. At no point will I be telling you, invest in this or choose this bank or do anything like that. Truly, I just want you to get your feet wet here. So the first one is an easy one, right? Or is it? What is money? Money is essentially a medium of exchange that lets people acquire goods or services, right? We used to know money as something we could hold in our hands, but less and less that is the case, as money is now largely digital and we exchange it in different mediums, whether it's Zelle or Venmo or things like that. Okay. So we've sort of moved on, as you can see, from a very basic bartering system to this more manufactured type of exchanging. Again, the history of money is truly fascinating. The reason why I wanted to put it here as number one is because, again, we are talking about the history of money. And I think if you understand the history of money, as with anything else, if you know the beginning, you probably know where things are going to go and how to master, how to learn more about money. So that is as much, I promised you, about history as we're going to get. So let us go on to inflation. So the thing with inflation was, on the last slide, I mentioned that we're now on a fiat system. So what that allowed governments to do is to create money, right? To expand the money supply. And it's exactly what it sounds like. If the government, if Treasury feels like we need to pump more money into the economy for whatever reason, they can do that. However, what happens is when that happens a lot, certainly that money supply goes up. And then you have what you see here, which is too much money chasing too few goods. Okay. And that is that represents the decline of purchasing power with fiat money. Anytime you hear me or anybody say fiat money, just think of the currency that we currently use. So what does that mean for you, right? You're a high school student. What does any of this mean to you? Well, surely you've heard perhaps an older relative, perhaps a parent, somebody, a teacher, saying that things are more expensive nowadays, right? And you might have been wondering why. This is a big reason why things are more expensive right now. So that is essentially inflation in a very quick nugget, right? So now let's talk about interest, right? Because there are some things that we can do. It's not all bad. There are some things we can do to combat things. I'm going to get to that through the presentation, but first I'm going to explain how we get there, and that is interest. So if anybody here has heard of the word interest, of course, we're talking about two kinds of interest, and it all means the same thing: the cost of borrowing money, right? If you lend somebody money, you're typically going to lend them money, $10, $20. If they give it back to you, typically you should be charging them interest for that service, right? So we're going to give you back the $10 or $20 plus whatever you are charging them to get that money from you. So like I said, there is earning the interest here. This is what a bank pays you to store your money when you give it to them, while they use it to create loans for other customers. Depending on the bank, this interest rate will be higher or it will be lower. Now, there's the paying interest, right? And this is what you pay to borrow money, right? When you borrow money, when you go and take out a loan for whatever it is that you're going to buy, that loan itself, that amount, is the principal. Then there's the interest, right? What this interest is going to be depends a lot on your credit score. Okay. And I'm going to expand on that a little bit later. There are, of course, car loans, credit card loans, student loans, but all of these carry an interest. So I want to take a look here with you at two sample car loan scenarios. Let's take a look at the one on the left, and then we'll go to the one on the right. But I want you to see what a difference interest rate makes, actually. The one on the left is actually my very own car loan. So I felt completely fine sharing that with you. I'm okay with that. But to give you an example, this is how we read it. So the car price, the car I bought was listed at $33,000. The down payment, which is the payment that I put out of pocket to sort of cut that amount in half almost, was $16,000. The rate that I got, which was actually a very good rate on, in this case from this bank, was 1.99, right? So that left me with, when you take the car price, you take the down payment away from it, it left me to finance $17,000 at that 1.99. So when you crank out when you do the math, I want to do it for you. That means that I'm going to pay over the life of this loan, which is 5 years, $874. Okay. That is not bad whatsoever. Now, I want you to take a look at what a difference it makes when you have, and I pulled this number today too, to give you the freshest digits, but this is the average loan rate right now from other banks for used cars. So if I were to do the same transaction, again, all the numbers are the same here. The only thing that changes is that interest rate. Take a look at how much interest I would pay over the next 5 years, right? Certainly over $3,000 more. So just to illustrate there for you what a difference it makes, we're really not talking, we're talking about, a few percentage points, but when you stretch it out that way, truly you can see how interest can either work for you or it could work against you. So I'm going to ask you everybody who's here present, you can answer this question for me. If I offered you $10,000 today or $10,000 in 2 years, which would you take and why? And feel free to open up your mic, or if you want to drop it in the chat, Nina or Denise, if you wouldn't mind helping me out.
No problem. We'll let you know whatever.
Thank you. So again, question is, if I were to offer you $10,000 today or $10,000 in 2 years, which would you take? Is it a quiet bunch?
It's a quiet bunch. I think everybody just got, oh, wait. Bella says 2 years because I feel it would most benefit me later than it would now.
That's very interesting. Okay. Perhaps somebody who knows, their own spending habits. Okay, I can appreciate that. Well, yeah, I appreciate that answer. Any other answers, Nina?
Haley says 2 years in hopes that the value of money increases by then.
Ooh, you might be hoping for a long time. Wonderful. I'll take that. Listen, I typically don't get 2 years because I typically get people who want the money right now. By the way, I'm sorry to tell you both who answered the question, I don't have this money to give you, but I did want to illustrate that most people actually go with the money now, but they don't go for it for the reasons that I'm going to tell you. They typically go for it for the reason that, it's money now. I want the $10,000 right now. The reason why you want it now is not just because, we're impatient and we want it now. The reason why you want it is one of the most important lessons in life, which is lesson number 4, the time value of money. And that just means that the money is worth more now than it will be in the future due to its earning potential. So to the first person who answered the question, typically the value of the dollar is not going to go up as much, where it would counteract what I just mentioned right now. You're better off having that money in your hands right now, those $10,000, so that you can do something with it. That something being, of course, investing it, making it grow. Now, if I were to give you $10,000 and you stuff it under a mattress, or you make it sit in a savings account that gives you very little interest, you're not going to make that much money. However, if you take that money and you make it grow, you can invest that money and it's going to be worth more in the future. Let's take a quick look here at what can happen if you let that money grow and you don't make any contributions into the account. So again, let's say I give you 10,000, you put it in an account, and we're going to give it 4 years, right? That's what you see there in the column on the left. Let's just say that the interest you're earning is 10%. Now, there are very few things in life that can guarantee you a 10% interest, just so that everybody knows. It's not like we can just say, I want to invest in something that is going to give you 10% back. Don't we all, right? Typically, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows that this is going to be something that happens, that your money is going to get 10% year after year. So this is fictional, of course, but I want you to see what happens with money when it grows over time, to show you the time value of money. So again, $10,000 in a bank account. Year 0, you have 10,000. Year 1, you have that 10,000 plus the interest, right? Which is again 10%. And of course, 10% of 10,000 being 1,000, you add that on top of the original investment, you now have 11,000 at the end of year 1. Okay. And all you did is you just put this money in an account, investment account that gives you, right, hopefully 10% on your investment, right? And that money just sits there. You don't have to do anything for it. You don't have to work it. You don't have to move it. You don't have to do anything with it. It will just grow, right? Now you can see here what happens over 4 years. It will keep growing, right? So you can imagine what this table would look like if you went to 10 years, 20, 30 years, okay? So the time value of money is illustrated best right here in this table. If you have the money, you can do something. You can do something with it right now. And you can then see, of course, the benefits down the line, okay? Again, like I said, there is no safe investment out there. There is nothing that guarantees you that you're going to get 10% back. And if there was, I would be all over right now. But there are more modest expectations out there. Now, one safe bet for everybody, and something that I highly recommend, if you do not have a savings account, I highly recommend that you open up one as soon as you can. It's always a good idea to have one handy to be there to help you out during emergencies. There are multiple ways, multiple types of accounts to go to for savings. There's the money market account, there's savings, there's certificates of deposit. I'm going to stick with that one right there in the middle, as it is. It's my original one. It's one that I had. I didn't know the value of it. I didn't know what I was doing when I set it up, but it dawned on me how it's supposed to be used when I was in college. So what didn't really click until later on is that I wasn't going to make a lot of money, right? Like I told you, when I opened this account, I was very young and I was excited. I got my first paycheck. I wanted to put it in a bank and then be able to see it, well, back then, not on my phone, but be able to see it on the computer, see how it was growing. So that was exciting for me. And I saw it grow a little bit, right? Because I think my interest back then was 0.03 or 0.04, something like that. And that's typical with, big banks. But the savings account is very beneficial because you can move that money around. If I want to spend it, I had a card for it, I can swipe and immediately it would be deducted from my account. I could send that, I could wire it to, my parents or anybody else. But that is a benefit. There is also, of course, no risk of losing your funds. Whatever funds you have in a savings account are typically protected by the bank. So my recommendation to you is, and of course, different situations are of everyone, right? We all have different expectations. But if you could have, heading into college, at least $300 in emergency funds. If this, perhaps you lose one of your books once you're in college, perhaps there are lab fees that you have to pay for one of your classes. You have this money right there and then that you can use to spend. Maybe you play an intramural sport when you get to college and, God forbid, you sprain an ankle. You have a little bit of money here that can help you with those expenses. I would certainly, if you're new to the savings account game and you're wondering, well, where can I get money to put even, in a savings account, just know that there, for the most part, for these savings account, there isn't, a minimum to deposit money into these accounts. So you don't need $300 to open up a bank savings account, right? All right. So if you're wondering, when is the best time to start saving? The best time was yesterday, and the next best time is today. Again, going back to the time value of money, the sooner you get started, the sooner that money is going to grow. Okay. So truly, everybody here listening to me is, I'm guessing 17, 18, 19, around that age. Time is in your hands, believe me. So if you start at this now and, you get that recurring deposit going to your savings, you're going to be sitting pretty well, probably better than me, honestly, when you get to be to my age. And that's certainly something that I didn't do. So that's a regret of mine. And I highly recommend that you take me up on that.
Carlos, there's a question that was sent to me privately, and you
Sure.
may get to it, was where would you recommend it go after you've hit your savings goal?
That's a great question. Yep, I am going to cover that a little bit later.
Okay,
All right.
cool.
And keep me honest if I don't, by the way.
I will do.
Okay. So I did talk about precisely this, right? That leftover money that you have, don't let it sit anywhere. Don't let it sit in savings. Don't let it sit in checking. This is the best way. And when I was looking at budgeting definitions, this is the best definition that I found. Give every dollar a job. Okay. So once your $300 emergency fund has been assigned, right? Once you gave it that job, give the remaining of your money a job. So that is what budgeting is for. And what I'm going to show you right now is a form of budgeting that I really like. It's called zero-based budgeting. And you're going to see why it's called that. So budget, by the way, in case folks here don't know, is a spending plan, essentially, right? That it takes into account your income, whatever money you make, if you have a job, if you get those birthday checks again, if you get that tax refund, this is all income. And then you factor in your expenses, right? Whatever you spend your money on. It's best done at the beginning of the month, right? So that you can forecast sort of what your expenses, what your month is going to look like. So I have already done this for the month of May, right? And I'm typically trying to map out what all of the expenses are going to be for my family. And then at the end of the month, I'm going to come back and see how close I was or how off was I, okay? Because you have, of course, what you think you're going to spend. And then at the end of the month, you want to make sure that the numbers align as much as possible. So let's take a look here at a sample monthly budget. And I took, obviously, I can't give you what my budget was back then because certainly a few things wouldn't be there, such as streaming. Streaming wasn't around back then. But the same logic applies. Here on the left, you have, obviously, this is a fictional case, your income, right? So let's just say you had a work-study job. And again, this is a monthly budget rather. So say you're taking in $840, say you're getting a financial aid refund, right? You're expecting of $1,000. You got a birthday coming up, you're gonna get $200 from a family. That gives you an income for the month of May of $2,040, right? $2,000 and 40. Now let's take a look at your expenses. And again, this is, we're forecasting. We think we know what's going to happen, right? Given that it's the month of May. So let's see what happens here. It's graduation, right? So maybe there's a haircut coming up, right? We take that into account. Maybe there will be some takeout, some delivery. Certainly we're going to be going out to have a good time. There's going to be streaming, perhaps some streaming expenses that happen. Cell phone. If you're like me, when I was in high school and actually into college, I was on my parents' plan, and I did contribute my portion of the phone bill. But certainly that could be something that's applicable to you. Groceries. I did buy my own groceries when I was starting as a freshman because obviously the dining hall isn't always open, but you always want to have some food there. Mother's Day is coming up, so of course you want to buy mom something nice. And let me explain what that payoff loan means, right? Up here, I said financial aid refund. And I'll get to this on the next slide. Sometimes you will get a refund from financial aid. And what happens is there's a miscalculation sort of how much money you needed for that semester for school, right? When there's money left over, after all the bills have been paid by the school, you are going to get a check. And I got these checks often. And they were pretty much in about that amount, $1,000, sometimes $2,000. But when you get this money, there are many things you can do with it. It is essentially your money, but you're borrowing. Okay, I just want to be clear on that. It is not money that's just falling out of the sky. It is part of that financial aid package that you filled out the FAFSA for. So whatever you do with this money, you're going to have to pay it back eventually. What my recommendation would be in this case is to, if you don't need that money, right? If you don't need the money for anything else, the $1,000, pay off your loan, just send it back essentially, right? And you can make that principal a little bit smaller, okay? Then what you have left over, which will be, if you were to do the math, $520, take that and put it in your savings account, right? So now you have $520 into your savings account. You add up all of these expenses and guess what? You get $2,040. If that number looks familiar, it's because it's the same as your total income, right? So you take these $2,040 that you brought in for the month of May, you have these $2,040 of expenses for the month of May, that gives you a zero-based budget. So every single dollar, to go back to that first bullet point, has a job in this case, right? And this is the easiest way to truly own your money, right? Every money that comes in, you know exactly where it's going. All right. Before I go on, I want to give you a quick word on work-study jobs, because I know I mentioned that, but I don't expect everybody to know right now what those are. So work-study is essentially, and I'll gloss over, I'm sure you're going to learn about it more in depth throughout these sessions, but it is a program that's funded by the federal government, in which they give money to the universities for them to employ you in jobs either on campus or off campus, right? So you apply for this work study, or you say that you want to apply for the work study job when you submit your FAFSA. I believe if I remember correctly, when I filled out the FAFSA, it was just a matter of checking a box. Yes, I'm interested in the work study program. This is the only way to apply for it. So if you want to take advantage of this, of these funds, and of having the accessibility and the ease of working on campus, I would certainly make sure that you accept, or you check off that work study job. Work study is honestly, it was one of my good friends in college, because it gave me the liberty, gave me the freedom to have the money that I needed, and honestly that I wanted. I'm thankful to say that I never needed or wanted anything in college, because I worked and I had the money, for my books, or if I wanted to go out with my friends, or if I wanted to take out my girlfriend on a date, I could. And a big reason why is because work study, right? I had a job on campus that I could go to, and I could make money. It's convenient, and like I said, it's on campus. It can be off campus too. And the beautiful thing is, if you're concerned about, can I handle it, right? It's going to be a lot of things going on. I'm going to be a first-year student. There's going to be classes. If you're going to be an athlete, can I take on a job? The good thing is that they already cap you at 20 hours. So you can't work more than 20 hours, even if you want it, which is good, right? It's going to be built around your class schedule. So whether you want to work at the school library, or you want to work at the computer lab or the language lab, these are all jobs that I had when I was in school, by the way, it's all going to be built around your class schedule. And one of the biggest benefits is when you're on a downtime. I used to work actually at the computer lab at the library, helping students out with the Wi-Fi and with the printer and all that. If there weren't any students around, if nobody needed my services, I could always do my homework on my downtime. So if you're worried about, having the time to have this job, go to class and do your homework, well, guess what? You can certainly do your homework at your job. And that is why it's called a work study job. All right. So you're truly not breaking any rules by doing that. I would advise you all to certainly take advantage of that, and also to be aware that not all schools participate in it. So certainly whatever that list of schools you have right now, certainly make sure that they do participate on it. Good money is that they do. But certainly apply early, and those job opportunities, it hasn't changed. I was doing my research on this to make sure that it was the same as it was when I went to school. It is first come, first served, right? So the best jobs, the jobs that everybody wants, typically those jobs are in athletics for some reason. Those jobs are the first ones to go, okay? So keep that in mind. All right, lesson number 7, how credit cards make money. This is certainly something that I didn't know, right? I did open my first account, my first credit card when I was a freshman in college. I certainly didn't know as much as I know now, and thankfully I didn't get into too much trouble with it. But I'm here to let you know that you're going to get a lot of attention from credit card companies, and you probably already are. And that's because they, don't ask me how, but right, they all have our information, right? They know you're about to go to college. They know how old you are, certainly. They know that you're about to go onto this new place, and you're going to be exposed to, a lot of different people, a lot of different products, certainly a lot of different ideas, and you're going to want to, spend. You're going to want to exercise that freedom. So just know that this is something that hasn't changed. And I remember when I one of the first weeks that I was at school, certainly when they, when they have the campus center, they set up the tables, they have the welcoming services. Credit card companies will be present, banks will be present. They will be looking for, they'll be giving you hats, they'll giving you pens, t-shirts and all that. But at the end of the day, they're going to be looking to enroll you in some services. I'm not saying stay away from them by all means, because I do have credit cards, I do have bank accounts. But what I am saying is tread carefully and just know what you're getting into. But credit cards make money in, a number of different ways. The credit cards you're going to be offered are most likely not going to have an annual fee. Annual fee is, simply put, what you pay the credit card to have that, to what you pay the company to have that credit card. Certain credit cards, the ones that have a lot of rewards, a lot of perks, they're going to cost you a little bit more in annual fees than ones which are a little bit more bare bones. Okay, so we talked about interest before, right? There's the interest that you earn, and of course the interest that you pay for money that you borrow. This money is money that you are borrowing, and when you don't pay your credit card at the end of the month, that is exactly what you're doing, right? That $20 you spent at Five Guys, right? If you didn't pay it off at the end of the year, those $20 are going to be what you pay back and then some, because there's interest on that. Now, the average interest rate when I was looking at this is about 16%. It's called APR, just so you know, for credit cards. So if you carry a balance on your credit card, the company is going to multiply it each day by that daily interest rate and add that to what you owe. So if we take 16%, we divide that by 365, we get 0.04. 0.04 times what your balance is going to be added every day, and that is going to be what you owe until you pay it off. Okay, so if that doesn't make sense, let me simplify it a little bit more with these tips. The best way to have a credit card is this right here. Stick to your budget. That budget that we just saw earlier, stick to it, be honest with it. Download the Issuing Bank's app so that you can see all the transactions that are happening. I want you to set spending alerts and limits. I still do this to this day. I didn't do this back when I was in school. This was sort of an adulting thing that I started doing, but I will get an email if I spend $500 on a credit card. I will get an email saying, hey, you just spent $500 on your whatever. Is this something you wanted to do? And it's sort of a fraud protection, but also a way for me to know that this is happening, right? So it's always good to keep yourself honest that way. Now, if I were to set a spending limit of, say, $1,000, and there was a charge for $2,000 on my credit card, whether it's made by me or somebody else, that charge wouldn't happen, okay? Because I've set that limit. So a good way to use a credit card as soon as you get it is to do these things. Set the spending alert, right? Hey, system, send me an alert anytime I spend over $100. And certainly don't let any transactions happen if they are over $200. And this is going to be the best way, honestly, to keep you out of trouble, all right? Of course, keep track of your charges. Anytime you swipe that thing, the next day, log on for 2 seconds is all it takes, right on your phone, and make sure that it's for the right amount. This is a big one. Set up the automatic payment option. As soon as you have that, set it to pay off the statement balance at the end of the month. And you want to do this for that reason that I just mentioned earlier. You don't want to pay the bank's interest, okay? That is how they make their money out of you. And certainly you're not in the business of giving money to anybody else, right? So as soon as you have that set up the automatic payment so that it gets paid off automatically every month. I've been doing that for the past, I want to say 5-6 years that I've set automatic payments. Before that, I was actually logging on every single month to pay off each of my 6 credit cards. And of course, I was a pain in the butt. I no longer do that. I have these automatic payments set up so that I don't have to worry about it and it gets done. And of course, we can't pretend that this doesn't exist. A lot of people get the credit cards because of the rewards, and beware. Just that's what I have to say about those. They are good rewards if you know how to use them. They are not good rewards if they ask you to spend money that you don't have. Trust me, you're going to end up backwards. So highly recommend you know exactly what you're getting into. The reason why I put the saving slide before this is because I wanted to mention this. Your credit card should not be your emergency bailout. I know I speak to a lot of parents, a lot of my colleagues, actually, a lot of relatives who have younger students who have their students have a credit card, and this is sort of their bailout money, right? If you get a flat tire, if you need books because you lost the one you have, this shouldn't be it, because again, you don't know if you're going to be able to cover that at the end of the month, right? We're going back to that. And again, you don't want to pay money that you don't need to pay. So again, if you start with that savings account, you beef that up nice, this will not be your emergency account, and that'll be a good thing. And lastly, if you are somebody who, you know yourself very well, you're self-aware, and you know that this is not the best idea, yet you want it to establish your credit, which is a commendable goal, don't carry it with you. You can get a credit card, open it in the mail, and then stuff it in a safe place, in your drawer or something like that. And you don't have to use it, and it'll be fine, completely fine. But just know that that is something that is an option. Now, earlier, I mentioned, and there was a question, right? What can we do with the money that we have left over? You can make your money work for you. I didn't go into college knowing about investing. Like I said, I let my money sit in checking. I let my money sit in savings for a long time. I could have, if I had known what I know about investing now, I could have made a lot more money earlier, right? Again, time value of money. If I had done this earlier, I would be in a much better place right now. So learn about it right now. You can invest in apps. There are apps all over the place. I don't recommend typically anyone. I'm just naming here one as an example. The great thing about these vehicles is that when you do link, because obviously you have to link an account where the money is going to come from so that you can invest that money, it's going to get linked to a checking account, which is a good thing, right? It's a good thing that it's not going to get linked to a credit card account, because then of course you're playing with money you don't have, which is what you don't want to do. The thing about investing in this way, right? Putting your money in say a brokerage account, which is what this is, as opposed to a savings account, you can actually lose your investment here. And I'll be very blatant in saying that I have lost money doing this, and certainly in this economy that we're in, a lot of us are losing money in the markets. So just so you know, this is not the safest way. Certainly a savings account, and MMA account is some of the safest vehicles to invest your money. But again, if you truly want to make your money grow, make your money work for you, you are going to have to incur some risk. So again, I'm not telling you to do this right now. I'm telling you to learn about it, read about it. If you like to read. If you like to listen to audiobooks, do that. If you like to listen to YouTube videos, by all means do that. But learn about how investing works and what you can invest in. And then when you're truly ready, take that leap. All right. But let's take that out. Let's go back to TVM quickly. And again, time value of money. Let's pretend that we have $100 right now. We want to put it in a brokerage account. We plan on making $700 contribution every single month, right? Let's just say we have an awesome job at school, a work-study job, plus another job. Now, let's fast forward 30 years, and let's say that we expect an estimated rate of return of 8%, right? Which is about what the stock market, what the S&P 500 has returned over the past few decades. So let's just say that is the case. This would be what you have at the end of 30 years, okay? And again, this isn't you just putting $100 in and it will magically turn into over $1 million. This is you putting in $100 to open your account right now. And then every month from here until 30 years from now, putting in $700, getting that 8%, and then you find yourself with over $1 million, okay? So when I tell you that you guys are in the prime of your life for so many reasons, right? Health-wise, but time-wise, if you start doing this now, if you start learning this now and truly making mistakes with little money, right? When I started doing this, you should have seen my brokerage account. I wasn't investing with crazy because I didn't have that much money to invest with. But I started investing with money that I was okay with losing, right? I was okay with losing $50. I was okay with losing $100. So truly start feeling it out that way. But truly, when you start getting good at it, you start panning out scenarios like this, and you can see how you can just automatically, again, automatic deposits are your best friends. This can happen automatically. You don't have to go in and say, okay, system, send $700 to my brokerage account. It'll happen automatically. But then 30 years from now, you open your eyes, you close your eyes, you have over $1 million in that account. Okay. So that's the time value of money at work for you. And again, like I said before, and I love saying it to anybody who will listen to me, who's young, time is on your side. So truly, truly take advantage of it. Okay. So student loans can be dangerous. And I don't say that so that you avoid them, because honestly, you can avoid them. I couldn't avoid them. There aren't many people who can write a $200,000 check for school, right? But I do want you to know, I do want you to have that that disclaimer. Nobody, no bank, no institution is doing you a favor by lending you money. You're going to repay it and then some, right? So whatever you take out for loans, you're going to give that money back, and then a lot more, actually. So it is a necessary evil. Like I said, we don't have that check we can write to say, okay, 4 years of school paid off. But I do want you to tread carefully. And there are many different types of loans. I'm not going to go into that. You're going to learn from people who are way more knowledgeable about that than me, about what the types of loans are. So let's just stick with some basics here. Okay. Let's take a look at the, if you recall, I mentioned the principal earlier. Principal is that sum that you're borrowing for college, right? So I took a look today and I saw that the average student loan debt, right? The average amount that Massachusetts students are taking out for college today to go to state schools is $32,000. So take that, multiply it by 4, you get $128,000. Then I took a look at what the average interest rate is, and it's currently sitting at 3.73. I got to tell you, that's pretty good. I was paying 6.75 in interest when I was paying off my student loans. So that's actually not a bad interest. All right. But let's take a look. I'm a big fan of these calculators that you can draw up, you can bring up, you can Google these, by the way. This is just a student loan payoff calculator. Now, I plugged in $128,000 for the loan amount, and I plugged in 30 years, right? What would it look like? What would I need to do to pay this thing off in 30 years? And I put in 3.73 down there. And as you can see here, total principal, again, principal is the money you're borrowing, $128,000. Look at the interest. Before you look at the monthly payments, look at the interest. So this means that for you to borrow $128,000, you're paying the bank, you're going to pay the bank nearly $85,000. Okay? Nearly a whole other loan, right? So when I tell you how tricky it is, how these student loans can sneak up on you and certainly take a lot of your money, certainly more money than you actually took, it's a thing, it's an actual thing. And then you, of course, take a look at that monthly payment. So this means that for the next 30 years, if you were to take this loan out today, you would be paying just shy of $600 to pay off more than what you borrowed, okay? So my takeaway here isn't, of course, and this is the extreme. This would be if you just financed all of college with student loans, which isn't the case for everybody. Certainly a lot of you may qualify for scholarships. You may qualify for additional aid, need-based aid. You certainly might qualify for that work-study job that will help you. But just know that when it comes to interest tied to student loans, it is typically a pretty penny, as you can see here, okay? At the end of the day, what you're looking for, and here's the payoff date, by the way, for this specific loan. But at the end of the day, and I have this letter, by the way, I keep saying I'm going to print it out and frame it, but when you finally pay off your loan, it is an amazing moment. All right. I would say that it's actually almost as awesome as graduating from college itself, because you can finally, let go of this thing. But when it comes to your student loans, please be involved. I was not involved when we took out our student loans. As Denise mentioned to you, I'm a first-generation student. My parents obviously didn't go to college, didn't know a lot of this, but they were my champions. They were in my corner. They backed me up, and they signed on these documents. And of course, they sign off. But eventually, the payoff is going to be up to you, right? Once you graduate. So just know everything that you're getting involved in, and certainly know your numbers. Okay. All right. And the 10th step, the 10th thing that I wish I had known before I went to college, before I actually chose my major, is that career earning potential. Okay, so when I'm saying that, I mean is whatever field you're thinking of majoring in once you get to college, is it going to pay the bills? Simply put, right? Once you graduate, is it going to be something that allows you to make maybe that $600 student loan payment? Like it says here, that outdoor education degree is a great thing, but will it cover the bills? And I say that with all the love in the world to anybody that has an outdoor education degree. My first job out of college was actually in outdoor education. And actually, I'll take a little sideways here to explain. Like Denise said, I went to school and I got my MBA. When I was about to graduate with my MBA from grad school, the job scene wasn't, as hot as it is right now. So I found myself, trying to look for opportunities and what to do. I had done a lot of higher ed jobs in college while I was going to college to, support myself through school. So that set me up for a role at a small private school here in Massachusetts that was looking for an outdoor recreation person. And one of the big benefits for that job was the apartment, right? It had a fully furnished apartment, 3 bedrooms, with a washer, dryer in unit. I could use the dining hall anytime I wanted, paid cable. Essentially, 70 to 80% of the expenses that you would have upon graduating were taken care of by the university. So I jumped on this. And I jumped on this, quite honestly, because I couldn't find any other opportunities, but I saw this as my opening. The job paid exactly what this outdoor education degree person would make, which was around $28,000. But then you factor in all of those expenses that I'm not making, right? I'm not paying a mortgage, I'm not paying rent, I'm not paying cable, washer, dryer, any of that. So it made a lot of sense for me because I could chip away at everything else. I could chip away at my student loan, right? So that is something that I took into consideration when choosing a job. So when you choose a major, of course, like I said, you can't overlook the reality of, I'm going to have to pay this thing, right? Typically, there's a 6-month grace period on having to pay your student loans after you graduate. But when those 6 months are up, you're going to have to start paying. So what do I'm asking you, you don't have to answer this question, but what do you envision for your post-college life to look like? Are you planning on moving back home, right? A lot of students are doing that nowadays. Are you thinking of traveling, maybe finding your own place or splitting a room somewhere in the city or outside of the city with a friend? So obviously you don't have the answers for that right now, but just start to envision what that could possibly look like and set yourself up in the best way possible right now towards whatever that is. Certainly, if you're thinking of finding your own place, know that that is going to be the pricier of all the options, right? Because you're going to have to pay for rent, you're going to have to pay for transport to your job, and of course, everything else that comes with that. So going back to that loan refund, if you'll recall me talking about when you get that refund from the school, right, you're going to feel gassed up. You're going to feel good. I remember walking over to the office where they gave you the check, thinking of all the things I was going to use that money on. None of it was useful. None of it needed to be done. But I didn't do what I'm telling you to do right now, and that is to give that money back to the loan issuer, rather, right? Because at the end of the day, I had to pay that money back. I might have spent it on whatever I spent it. At the end of the day, I had to pay back on it, plus interest. So mistakes I made in college, money related, spent my loan refund on things, spent my tax refund on things. I didn't do the things that I'm telling you to do right now until later on, right? When I get a tax refund right now, it goes directly into my family's investments, right? So that's not something certainly that I did in college. And it's something that with you having time on your hands, if you take these things, your loan refund, your tax refund, and you put it in the right avenues, you're just going to be in a much, much better place. Like I said before, I left my money sitting in savings and checkings well into my college career. I would certainly do that over. I didn't truly start saving for retirement until I was 25. So a lot of these things came around later on, right? And not paying off my student loan sooner. I was happy enough that I did it. I was able to do it in 7 years, but of course, over that time, interest accrued, and I hate paying interest. I have to tell you that about myself. I've had a credit card since I was in college. I have never paid credit card interest, and I'm really proud of that. I can't say the same, obviously, for student loans. I just wish I had paid them off sooner. And not starting a budget until after I graduated, until after I had that first, professional job paycheck. Okay. And this was all when I thought about why was I this way, right? And it was because I didn't know what my money values were. I was comfortable. Like I said to you before, I've been working since I was 12. I happily, thank God, never had to want for anything because I had supportive parents and I could work and all that. But I was comfortably fine leaving my money be, right? My money didn't do anything. So my money values, if I were to do things over again, would be to be a bit more active, a bit more, certainly not reactive, a bit more active, a bit more aggressive, certainly more intentional with what I wanted to do. Now, I did do a lot of good things, and this is what I want to share with you as one of my last takeaways, right? And that is, like I said, take advantage of work-study jobs because they are the reason why I was able to be solvent in school, why I never needed money for books, why when I hurt my knee, I had money to cover the check-in fee for that at the doctor, right? I was always vigilant of my credit. This is actually something that I started paying attention to early on. So I knew I had a credit card. I knew I wanted to keep an eye on it. And I knew I wanted that credit to improve and always get better. And because of that, I can say I'm in a very good place right now. But this all started in college. I did open a credit card, which I never carried it with me. I left it in my dorm, actually, in a very safe place. And this is something that you'll hear a lot of people say, be careful, don't open a credit card in college. You have to know what kind of person you are. And of course, you have to speak with whomever you have to speak with, your parents, excuse me. But this is something that I would do over again because it allowed me to work with a lot of those habits, those good habits that I brought on to the rest of my life. Live on campus. If you have the option to live on campus, if you're on the fence and you have the option for which way to go, I would certainly do that because it makes things like having a job on campus and a social life and an academic life all at the same time. It makes those things easier for you. Okay. Big money saving one. Eat at the dining hall whenever it's open. If you have a meal plan going into college, take advantage of it, right? You're always going to have the temptation to call in and get some takeout, have it brought right to the to your entrance, to your building hall. And of course, that's going to cost you money, but you're already paying for that dining hall plan. So if you're thinking of where you can save money, where you can cut back on expenses, that's something that is already taken care of for you. Now you're still going to want to have, a mini fridge perhaps with food stuffed in it, right? This is something that I did very well. And I got to thank my stepdad was actually someone who was, he's very frugal, but he was always very good about shopping for food. He always knew where the sales were, what supermarkets had them. So I was able to take a few tidbits of knowledge there, how to clip coupons and all that. And believe me, I was not shy about doing that. But this saved me a lot of money. And it let me have whatever food I wanted in my fridge anytime I wanted. And this is the last thing that I would mention to you, because if I were to pinpoint one thing that saved me a lot of money in college, is to become an RA. Now, for anybody here who doesn't know what that is, RA stands for resident assistant. And it's a leadership position. It's a job that is typically not paid in the sense that you're not going to get a paycheck from it every 2 weeks. But there are a lot of credits that you get, credits that you get on your tuition, on your other fees associated with attending the school. Typically, your room and board will be taken care of because you're an RA. But in this job, to go back to what the job is about, you essentially oversee the floor, right? Whatever floor of students you have, there might be 20, 30 students on that floor. You would be sort of the captain of that floor, making sure everybody's okay, putting on great events, great programming so that everybody gets to know each other. But this is an opportunity that, as you see here, saved me $11,000 every year I was at my school, right? That's $11,000 I didn't have to pay back. I did have to work for it, and I was completely fine because I love the work, but it did save me a lot of money. Just so that everybody knows, disclosure on this kind of role, you typically have to be a second-year student, a sophomore, for obvious reasons. If you're going to oversee a floor, be a leader at a school, they want you to typically have 1 year of experience as a student at the school. But keep an eye out for that. Certainly anybody here who is going to be going to school in the fall, you're going to have an RA. So if this is a position that's of interest to you, certainly get to know your RA and ask them what they like about that role. All right. And it might be something for you, and it certainly will save you a lot of money. All right. So thank you everybody for listening to me. I am going to be following up with resources. I've talked about a few calculators that you saw here, the student payoff calculator, how to research your college major, how to research career earning potential. I want to make sure I send you good links where you're going to be able to find this information. And also want to let everybody know here, I am going to be launching a blog that's called entryleveladulting.com. And I want to invite you all to be a part of that. I am going to be sending a grand opening email to everybody who came here, who registered for this event. So you all can be the first people essentially to come in and take a look at that. You can find me at carlos@entryleveladulting.com. I look forward to hearing any questions you have either right now or via email, but that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Carlos, thank you so much. This was really, truly amazing. And folks have questions for you already. But you covered so much.
Let's go. Can't wait to hear the questions.
Short period of time. So thank you. You may actually have fewer questions because you covered so many things already.
Let's see.
But let's get to a question that is coming to you. It says, my family does not use any loans or credit cards at all, even though we're low income. What are your suggestions to attend college completely loan-free and debt-free?
That's an amazing question, and certainly applaud you and your family, Thelonious, for trying to stay away from debt as much as possible. What I would recommend you do is you take a look at community college, and depending, obviously, a lot of things depend on what major you're going to be focusing on, but if I were to be looking to save money on college, I would spend some of my time early on at a community college. So you can take care of those prerequisites. Typically your majors, whatever major you choose is going to have prereqs, literature, certain type of math, certain type of science that you can knock off at a community college, right? And certainly for a fraction of the price. I'm not saying that is going to be free at all. I certainly can't think of many loan-free options in a college, but certainly a junior college, a community college could fit that bill because the cost is just going to be incrementally smaller than going to college.
Myself, keep muting and unmuting, sorry. How do you know if an online bank or investing app is reputable? So you know which ones to go with.
Yeah, very good question. The way you do that simply is by going to that bank's website, right? And you're going to be looking for accreditations. You're going to be making sure that this is a bank that's accredited, and that should typically be at the footer of the website. You are going to see, like I just showed you, a bank here that you may not know the name of. Certainly, if you don't know the name, if you have never heard of a bank, don't get involved with it, right? But I can tell you that my first savings account that wasn't one of the big ones, right? One of the banks that has a presence, a physical presence, was American Express savings account. And it had, at that time, it had the highest interest rates. It was actually higher than 0.8. But in that case, I had their credit card and I knew that they were a bank and I knew that this is something that they offered. So just, you have to fish around, maybe open up a few tabs on your browser and make sure that, everything washes, that everything is right. There is a blog that is very good at comparing savings accounts, and that's called Nerdwallet.com, right? So you can go on there and they have a nice tool that compares a lot of savings account for a lot of online banks. And of course, this is a reputable blog. It's been around for a long time. You might have even seen the TV ads, but they advertise, Narun has heard about it, but they advertise a lot of reputable banks that you're surely not going to get in trouble with.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a private question to me saying, for investing, could you recommend any stocks, mutual funds, or bonds for beginners?
I cannot. And I'm doing that for your own good and for my own good, because right now the market is doing so badly that anything I recommend to you, if you invest in it today, tomorrow you're probably going to be really, really mad at me. That's just the way things are going. So I don't want to do that to you. What I would encourage you to do, and this was my investing strategy when I started investing, is investing in things that I consume. Okay, so I, for example, don't have an Apple phone. I've never had an Apple phone, so I would not invest in Apple. Another reason being the cost of Apple stock is incredibly high. I do, however, like these. Actually, I have it right here. This is my favorite water bottle. It's a Yeti water bottle. I bought it about 5 years ago. It's durable. I liked it. It goes everywhere with me. I looked into the company. I like their values. I like what they're about. And they're a publicly held company, so I invested in it, and it has done well for me. So, while I wish I could give you advice on specific stocks, I would do better for you if I just told you to invest in brands that you see yourself consuming, right? Just look, whatever clothes you're wearing, whatever items you own, are these publicly held companies, and if you truly believe in what they're about, invest in them.
I would also add, you can look at like their highest value and their lowest value per year and make sure it's not too wide of a gap, that they're not that volatile. And that kind of tells you it's a pretty secure, stable company. And you want to try to buy at the lower end versus the higher end in general.
Yeah. Good point, Nina.
So another question. You said the minimum in your savings account should be $300 for students. What do you think? I'm trying to see the whole thing.
Maximum to have before you start investing. Another great question. So you have to take into account what your expenses are. Thank you, Heather, for that question. That is, for example, right now in my emergency, I'll explain it with my my own example. In my family's emergency account, I have to make sure that we can pay the mortgage, the light, our insurance, our cars, food for the baby, everything else. So when you're sure that you can cover your expenses for an extended period of time where you need that, where that emergency is happening, that is as much money as you should keep in your savings account. The reason why I set it at 300 is that should typically cover those big emergencies that happen, right? If you have a flat tire, if you have a car on campus, certainly that could take care of it. So thank you for saying that. Oh, you're welcome, Norman. So yeah, when it all depends, Heather, to go back to you on your specific situation, your financial needs, what things you have going on. But that is typically a good cushion to have for a minimum of 300.
We have a comment instead of a question here. It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. I got to stop buying that Starbucks. Another question.
Yes.
Can you recommend any budgeting apps?
Budgeting apps. Yes, I'm happy to recommend that. So there is, I'm trying to think of the name right now. There's personalcapital.com, which is good. There is another one that's creditkarma.com. But what these will do is they will plug into your actual account. So you do have to give it a lot of your information, meaning you do have to link your accounts to it. You do have to link your bank accounts to it, your savings, your checking, whatever you want it to take into account, you have to provide that. And, if you feel comfortable doing that, by all means do it. I have mine set up at one of these, but what it does is it cranks out all the numbers for you. It tells you what you're spending your money on. And obviously it takes into account your income, and then you can start getting a better picture of where your money is going and what your money is doing. And that's included of your investments. So when you do have investments, you can even plug that in to these dashboards.
Okay, well, I think we've We've got time for one or two more questions, really.
Sure.
Only. Does anybody have a question they want to, you can also, looks like we just got another one.
How early do you recommend?
Do you
a person- Sorry.
excuse me. How early do you recommend for a person opening up a saving? How early do you think somebody should open a savings account?
Open one up today.
Mhm.
There is nothing to lose, honestly. There is obviously read everything when you open up. This should not be the case, but is there a minimum required in the account? Typically, this is more for checking account. Do I need to keep a certain amount of money in the account month over month? Again, typically this is for checking accounts. But the point being is read everything related to that account you're about to open, and you should be fine, right? You can open up a savings account with nominal amount of money, but the best thing you can do is open one up and just get a recurring deposit going into it.
Thank you. So I think that's, I think we're ready to thank you very much for all you've done for us and all this information you've given us, which is pretty phenomenal. If we don't have any more questions, we will let folks know that we're going to be sending follow-up evaluation. As Carlos has said, he'll be sending us some information that we can include in that final email to you. And want to make sure you know that we've got 3 more of these smart money sessions in the next few weeks. So you can sign up for other smart money presentations at Smart Money 2022. And then you can pre-register also for another Different Choices event, which is going to be a virtual college and career fair. That's going to be in September, September 24th. I'm pretty sure the Princeton Review folks will be involved again, so you'll have a chance to connect with Carlos again through that. You can go to differentchoices.org, so you can learn more about Different Choices and the other smart money events, as well as the virtual college and career fair. You can also check out Schools for Children. We provide transformational education so that we can really transform people's lives as well. So you can learn about us at schoolsforchildren.org. So I would like to again thank you and invite you back. And please, if you have any other questions that you didn't think about this evening, you can send them to info@differentchoices.org and we will get those off to Carlos. But again, he is going to be sending you some more information via the email that we ship out to you. So thank you. Take care all.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Bye now.